Kinko Hamilton asked me to do a short video for first responders about some of the emotional shit I've had to deal with. And I think one of the most useful would be the way I dealt with panic attacks. It takes a little bit of background on both ends for me, for this to make sense. So I'm going to try to be as practical as possible. It's something I have used to guide other people through panic attacks, and it appears to work. So I don't think it's just a me thing, but it might be. So first background on the panic attacks. Probably about halfway through my corrections career, I started to get, or my adrenal glands appeared to be getting completely burned out. I wasn't getting adrenaline from almost anything. I remember once we were in a cave. We were about to rappel into a place of unknown depth, and I'm fiddling with a knot on my partner's chest harness. We made him out of tubular webbing, and my hand slipped off. I started to fall back into chasm of unknown depth, and I just reached out and grabbed a shirt and pulled myself back on balance. I didn't feel a thing. Kayaking wasn't fun. It was just cold. Climbing was just exercise. Adrenal burnout sounds like you're really calm and you're going to be really good, but it actually, almost nothing in life is fun without adrenaline. But as my adrenal glands were dying, they started occasionally just spasming, for want of a better word, just like an animal that's dying will sometimes go all agonal. And so I would randomly get these shots of intense adrenaline, straight up panic attacks. I'd be laying in bed half asleep or walking down a hallway. So that's the background of the problem. The other part's gonna sound weird, and it requires some meditative skill. I was trained in a very specific tradition with going off in the desert alone, no food, no water, and that if you were strong enough, you get an answer to whatever question you had. But one of the things I was taught is that there were places that had special knowledge, and they were usually surrounded by an aura of fear. You would just feel terrified as you got closer and closer to some of the older and better known powerful places. And I was taught specifically that when you felt that fear, that was because there was knowledge and you were being tested. So part one of the technique. Part two, there are a bunch of meditative traditions. One of the ones I really like is going into the mode. It's really similar to the point where you're almost falling asleep, and another car. There's been no traffic all day. Anyway, where you're almost falling asleep and you start letting things just bubble up from your subconscious. You don't try to control them. You don't try to figure out what they are. You just let them happen. And at the next level up, you start to guide them. And this is one of the side techniques of lucid dreaming, where you start the dream before you're fully asleep and then continue it. So what I started doing was one other thing from that tradition. You look to the sky for beauty. You look to the ground for information. And that ties into tracking and a bunch of other things. But basically, the world has your information. And there's a mantra in and down. The deeper you go into the world, the closer you get to the heart of the world, the greater the knowledge is, the greater the wisdom is. So when I felt one of these panic attacks hit, I would drop into that meditative state. I would guide it to the point that I was in a landscape, usually desert landscape, and I would look for a cave. And I would go into the cave, this cave that my subconscious created, looking for the lesson that the fear was trying to protect. It was that simple, but that allowed me to change my relationship to that fear, my relationship to that panic, into a knowledge and a test. And it much easier to deal with. I don't know if this will be helpful for anyone other than me, but I hope it will. And you guys take care of yourselves. Bye.